Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. It's truly a pleasure on behalf of Rail Baltica family to welcome you today online on our yearly procurement webinar. As you may already know, the concept of this webinar is to share our information on a variety of procurement subjects, as well to engage with our current and future suppliers. Just for information, this event is being streamed in our Rail Baltica homepage, railbaltica.org, and as well, if something, also on our social media channels such as Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Moving already alongside, just a reminder of the agenda of this event. The event is split in 4 major topics. Firstly, we will start with Rail Baltica global procurement approach and plans for 2023. After that, it will be followed by Rail Baltica in Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia progress and procurement plans by each of the countries. After that, updates on the railway subsystems and consolidated material procurement, as well as sub-country options. And last but not least, as a request from our suppliers, we will end with handy tips on the specifics of e-tender systems in each of the Baltic in each of the Baltic states. As well, in this our procurement webinar, there's a possibility for interactive questions. Feel free to go to Slido, enter the keywords #Rail Baltica Procurement 2023, or scan the QR codes, and you can ask our questions. But please note, questions related to procurement will be answered after each of the presentations. And as well, if some of the questions are missed, don't worry, the questions will be summarized and they will be later on uploaded in our homepage. To kick off the event, I would like to introduce the first segment, which will be Rail Baltica procurement approach and plans for 2023, that will be presented by Kristian Pirsalu, our head of procurement at RB Rail AS. Kristian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, live from Riga. And as usually, spring is an opportune time to look at what lies ahead this year. Then let's take a look at what is in store for Rail Baltica this year. As it happens, officially the spring has started, but we are greeted by snow this morning in Riga. We woke up to all the land covered in white snow. So maybe it's the last chance to go and enjoy the winter as well before the heat strikes. But let's take a look at what we have planned for this year. I will introduce you to what procurement approach and plans we have for 2023, followed by my colleagues later this afternoon going into more specifics on some of the topics. So I will take you through the procurement policy, key aspects and topics. And what this will include is some of the key elements that we have in the policy and also expectations towards the suppliers. Then we will take a look at the supplier survey results. It's an annual survey that we've run for the 5th year already, so we have a good comparison to show to you. And this is, in a way, feedback from us on the basis of the feedback that we have received to us from the market. So this is something that will be valuable to see how we are perceived at RB Rail regarding our procurement activities and practice. And last but not least, we will briefly take a look at also the procurement activities going on this year. But first, let's take a look at the procurement policy. And to understand the policy, it's also important to understand the structure. We have rather a complicated project structure with multiple implementing bodies across 3 countries. And this is also the reason why the policy itself is a little bit complex as well. So we have an overarching procurement policy, which we call the Common Procurement Standards and Guidelines for Rail Baltica, in short CPSG. And this is something that is applied across the project by all the project implementers. Now we have the implementers in different countries, and there are 4 main implementers. The joint venture RB Rail, Then EEST, who is the project implementer in Latvia, Rail Baltica Estonia, who's the project implementer in Estonia, and LTG Infra, who's the project implementer in Lithuania. And so also we have different procurement legislation that applies. To RB Rail and EEST, the procurement law of Latvia applies. To Rail Baltica Estonia, the procurement law of Estonia is applicable, and LTG Infra undertake procurement activities on the basis of the Lithuanian procurement law. And this is the reason also why we have separate procurement policies under the overall umbrella of the Common Procurement Standards and Guidelines, whereby each of the companies also has their own specific, company-specific procurement policy. Now, if we talk about the CPSG or the Common Procurement Standards and Guidelines, then the main aspects from the project side are fairness, free competition, transparency, equal treatment, non-discrimination, which we would like to believe are self-evident, actually. Then value for money, of course, and in that we talk about not just the money side, but also the value side. So the value for money has two key aspects. It's the value that we get, and then we also talk about the money side, how we get it and how we maximize the value. Efficient use of resources and standardizing our ways of doing things. Common sets of minimum requirements for qualification. This is also something that we have a rather standard approach on. Then social and environmental sustainability, also anti-corruption and avoidance of conflicts of interest. So these are the key aspects from the project side. Let's take a look at also what we expect from our suppliers, from the supplier market, what the procurement policy sets as expectations towards that, and what is our latest view in terms of the expectations towards the supplier market. Best market practice application, as always. We need the suppliers to deliver the project, to come and offer their goods, works and services. And of course, we expect for the project of the century, the best market practice application. Then, in terms of workforce, we expect the workforce to be treated fairly and equally, meaning freedom of collective bargaining, there being no forced labor, no child labor, equal treatment of the workforce in its true sense, making sure that the wages are reasonable, that the working hours and working conditions are reasonable, and all this is also legally sound and is aligned with the general market practice as well. Then in terms of health and safety, we expect our suppliers to have a handle on that, to have a proper management in place for health and safety, especially for anybody that works out on site, for construction companies. So that is one of the really important aspects that we have as well. Traffic management goes in a way hand in hand with site and survey management activities. And there it's important to keep in mind the local residents as well, not to have overly disturbance towards the local inhabitants. So to make sure that safety is minded, and also to make sure that that local inhabitants are taken into account in the activities that are taking place. Respect towards human rights, no harassment, no harsh or inhumane treatment. And we would like to think that this is also rather self-evident, at least in the world that we present on the Rail Baltica project. And this leads us towards the sanctions topic as well. In terms of the unfortunate event of a war against Ukraine, sanctions have been applied. To date, we have many sanctions packages already applicable. At the time when we started this analysis, the beginning of last year, regarding possible restrictions and sanctions from the project side, there were, I believe, 2 or 3 sanctions packages that were being discussed. Now there are 11, and this is something that we feel very strongly about, and we believe that our supply base also needs to understand that we feel strongly about it, and needs to also have a handle on the application of the sanctions. So we expect no Russian, Belarusian suppliers or suppliers in our contracts and supply chains. And this is something that we have or will have requirements for in the future contracts as well as in the current procurement activities already we have. And we expect also our suppliers to turn attention to that and to make sure that they don't involve any companies or suppliers from those regions. In addition to that, we expect also our suppliers and contractors who are the experts in their market segment to apply risk mitigation measures and to make sure that they have risk governance in their organization, meaning that they're able to mitigate supply chain risks, they are able to handle subcontractors on their sites, and take appropriate measures if anything were to happen in this uncertain time in regards to any of the suppliers or subcontractors that they have engaged. And this goes actually in advance even of the engagement to make sure that there is an understanding of the market, where the market is heading, and to already in advance mitigate these risks by involving the most appropriate subcontractors. Respect towards the environment is also something that we believe important, and this is also engraved in our procurement policy. And what this includes is attention to chemicals and hazardous materials, wastewater and solid waste management, air emissions, wastes and recycling, and also noise and dust. And there will be more specific requirements, of course, in any particular contract where they are applicable as well. And last but not least, ethical conduct, which we would like to believe is self-evident, but we see that it's not necessarily always so, because we are a large project and we see many suppliers also coming from many different countries and having different approaches. But on our project, we have a zero tolerance against corruption and conflict of interest situations. And we have an obligation to report such instances if we see anything untoward taking place. No gifts and hospitality, so please do not approach us with any such kind of offers. There are also, at least under the Latvian procurement law, restrictions, post-employment restrictions in place for people that make decisions and the people that can be in the procurement commissions. Then respect for business ethics and moral behavior, including also the way how our suppliers behave and the values that they exert as well in the procurement procedures. So we would like to see no attempts to damage or skew competition through our procedures, and no disruption to the procurement process if there is something to do with trying to influence, let's say, one's competitors. The official procedures, let's say the procurement procedure or the appeals procedure, are not intended to that. And if we see any activities as well, we have to address it, and we have to report that. So what we would like to see is, of course, open competition, free, fair, transparent competition. If there are true and significant issues, we want to know them. We need to be aware of them, and we are very much willing to address them with our suppliers. This is one of the reasons why we feel strongly about having post-tender debriefs with key tenderers as well. Especially on our key tenders, we offer this opportunity. For the reason to allow our suppliers to understand why we make certain decisions and how the rules and regulations of the project work. So this is the main part of the supply or expectations towards our suppliers from our procurement policy. There are many details included in that policy, so please take a look at our website. We have it published on there. So the common procurement standards and guidelines are published on the website and freely available. If you have any questions, you can always contact us and ask us. If you have feedback on something, similarly, feel free to do that. Now let's take a look at also the supplier survey results. And the supplier survey is something that we have run for 5 years now. It's been live since 2018. We have always been open about the feedback as well. So regardless of the results, we have always shared the feedback back to the market as well. How we, as RB Rail, are perceived as a procurement organization by the suppliers. The survey is always open to potential and direct partners and stakeholders, and it's anonymous. So anybody that wants to give us feedback through that survey has always been able to do so. Since we are now 5 years since the first survey, we also have quite good averages to share and compare. This time we ran it at the end of last year. We got 40 responses back from 19 countries. 14 countries, and 19 questions were on procurement. Let's take a look at the statistics as well. So we had 14 different countries participating. We had 43% of the respondents were from Baltics, and from other EU countries we had 54%. Also some were outside of the EU or the European Economic Area. And the main respondents naturally are from the supply of materials, construction and design, which corresponds very well with the activities that we are undertaking. As to the size of the organizations that responded to this survey, we are glad to see that all different sizes of companies are represented in the respondents, from small to medium to large enterprises. And the engagement that the suppliers have had with the project has been mainly through international conferences, seminars, or procurement activities. And to look at the overall summary result, then we can see on the right-hand side the KPI graph that indicates that the overall satisfaction from the supplier side with our procurement activities is 73%. We see a drop in the satisfaction, but we note that also this might be due to the start of war in Ukraine and the energy crisis, which have quite severely impacted the market. And perhaps as a contracting authority and a large project, we have not been able to act so quickly. So there are definitely learning points for us to improve how we procure and how we apply flexibility. From the point of view of information, where information can be found, and we see that still the website, the Rail Baltica website is the key source for information, but also the newsletters. So for anybody that wants to be continuously aware of what we do in terms of procurement activities, please feel free to register on our procurement newsletter as well from our website. A little bit more statistics regarding the survey. Tender process administration. The feedback is that there is 78% satisfaction with the way how we administrate the tenders. Regarding technical questions and answers, we have improved continuously across the years. So the satisfaction has been 83% with that. And the average across the years is 74%, which is a very good result. The procurement requirements and forms, which is how tenderers understand, how easy it is to understand what we are asking, and how easy or difficult it is to fill in and submit the forms. The satisfaction average across the 5 years is 78%, and in the last survey it was 80%. So it's a rather consistently high result that we have achieved, and we have also a practice of continuously improving, reviewing the forms, improving the forms, understanding where there are shortcomings, and improving the ability to supply information and improve the ease of submitting procurement proposals. Technical specifications, the result has very slightly dropped from last year, so the satisfaction is around 75%. Overall, across 5 years, we have improved the quality of specifications. But as they get more complex, as the project gets bigger, they also become more difficult and more complex. So this is probably reflected also somewhat in the result. Regarding contracts, we have somewhat improved regarding the satisfaction. Overall, I would say also here the satisfaction level is rather consistent, that we produce a relatively high quality documentation regarding contracts. And in terms of the ability to meet procurement requirements, we saw a slight drop after the COVID period. And then we were not really fast enough to adjust the qualification requirements. We undertook a change in our procurement policy and eased up the requirements a little bit, and we see that this has had a positive impact on the last year's results as well. And in terms of equal treatment, we see that there has been a drop in the suppliers' perception as to whether the suppliers were treated fairly and equally throughout the procurement process. So this is something that we'll be looking into more deeply as to what and why has happened there. So I wouldn't want to speculate too much, but we have seen that there have been very complicated tender processes and large tender processes that we have run over the past year. And it hasn't always been easy to do that, especially in the market turbulence that we've experienced. So maybe that has had a certain impact, but this is something that we need to look into more closely. And in terms of the supplier satisfaction as well, one of the key aspects that we evaluate is the willingness to return to our procurement exercises, and we see that that has continuously been over 80% throughout the 5 years. So last year, 83% of the suppliers that responded said they would come back and participate in our procurement exercises also in the future. That was about the supplier survey, and I would like to thank very much all the suppliers that responded. This is something that we have done annually, and that has helped us a lot in terms of improving our procurement practice, understanding where we are, and going forward with improvement. Last but not least, let us take a look as well quickly at the procurement activities that we intend to have or are having this year. So 2023 is seeing mostly activities that have been published last year. And we have big procurement activities ongoing already. In terms of design, we have 3 large design packages that are being procured in Lithuania, Vilnius-Kaunas Polish border, and Kaunas urban node. Then we have 2 very significant and large procurement packages in terms of electrification for the entire project and command, control, and signaling. And my colleague Aiga will tell you a little bit more about them later on, where we are and how we're doing. And consolidated materials. So we are procuring the framework agreements for consolidated materials, being the materials for laying the railway, rails, ballast, sleepers, and turnouts, for instance. So these are large packages that take a lot of effort and resource to procure also from our side. So these are the things that we continue with to procure and finalize the agreements. So all that said, this year we will see more administrative and supportive type of procurement activities from RB Rail. And the procurement plan is being updated as we speak, actually. So the updates are appearing on our website today and tomorrow. So please do check our procurement plan on the website. You have the link on the slides as well. And please do keep in touch with us. So in terms of the wider sense of procurement, my colleagues from the national implementing bodies will give more insight and understanding on what will be happening in each of the countries from the joint venture. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to present to you today, and please do take a look at our website and register on our newsletter and come and participate in our tenders. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian, for the great presentation. I hope also our viewers found it really valuable and great. But while you were presenting, we received a few questions, so hang on for a few minutes more for some questions. First of all, one of our viewers would like to know, the question comes in two parts, in how big scale there are green public procurement tenders in Rail Baltica, and if they are less than 50%, why Europe's Commission goals, which were set in 2008, are not met?
So green, this is a good question actually. Green is applied in different ways. Now the question is it engraved already in the technical specification? So in other words, is the work already done by specifying what we require, or do we have specific tender conditions, let's say evaluation criteria, or do we have certain qualification requirements? So in our common procurement standards and guidelines, in the qualification requirements, we have a standard requirement for the environmental qualifications as well. And in some tenders, we do apply additional criteria, but a lot of the work is actually being done by the technical teams by already establishing the conditions. So it applies in different ways. And sometimes also there is additional discussion during the implementation with the suppliers as well.
Thank you. Second question, sorry for asking, don't want to throw you under the bus, but it was our most asked question. Nearly 10 viewers asked it. Rolling stock procurement tender, what and when? Can you share some views on that?
Rolling stock is currently not our procurement plan. Definitely there will be topics to be addressed, so we would expect that also our beneficiaries will share some information on that soon enough. From the joint venture side currently there are no particular news to share on rolling stock as such, but the work is ongoing in the background, and I'm sure that soon enough we will hear more information on this.
Excellent. And just to also sum up, a lot of our viewers are asking, they are interested in the promotion of the public procurements, and any tips from your side for large procuring authorities to get into our procurements?
Okay, so if I understood the question correctly, it's about how to get into our tenders, yes? There is obviously the ability to get in touch with us directly to understand what any particular tender contains or means on our procurement plan. There is a lot of information on our procurement website as well regarding who we've already contracted, to understand what is the range of companies we are working with, to understand what might or might not be the subcontracting opportunities. And of course, we publish our tenders on our website, on the procurement system, and it's possible to get in touch through that. So we don't have any particular kind of hurdles to be minded, but I would suggest that anybody that is truly wanting to get involved with Rail Baltica, please do, if you have trouble registering or understanding what to do, write us, call us, get in touch with us on LinkedIn or by other medium, and ask us specific questions we can answer. And we always help our suppliers, so that's for sure. There's no particular hurdles, but I would suggest to get registered on the procurement system early.
Okay, great. Thank you, Christian. Thank you for your presentation and the answers. You're free to go. Won't torture you anymore with any more questions. And yes, just to maybe comment to our viewers, if somebody joined a bit later, as advised in the beginning, this is an interactive webinar, so there is this opportunity you can ask to ask questions. Questions can be asked via the application Slido, where you enter the keywords #Rail Baltica Procurement 2023, or in all the events, in all the emails, and also on our homepage you can find the QR code, just scan it, possibility to ask question. Please as this is procurement webinar, ask questions regarding procurement. Those will be answered, but if any question is missed later on, they will be combined and the answers will be put on our homepage. Also wanted just to share that we received information this webinar currently is being watched by around 250 viewers, so thank you for reserving this time and following us. So, to continue, the next segment of the procurement webinar is Rail Baltica project in Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, progress and procurement plan. And this segment will be done by 3 separate presentations. So first of all, first presentation will be done by our colleague Vaiko Egert, the COO at Rail Baltica Estonia, but he will be joining online and hopefully he is already on the feed. Vaiko, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So, how are you? How is the weather in Tallinn?
Getting better, hopefully. Not raining, but no sun either.
Okay, great.
But anyway, greeting from Estonia.
Okay, thank you.
Despite the chilly weather.
Noted. Thank you, Vaiko. And the floor is yours. Please feel free to present on Estonia.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, yes, again, hello to everyone. My name is Vaiko, and I'm Chief Operating Officer at Rail Baltica Estonia. And before I jump into these key procurements, let me just quickly remind what is the role of Rail Baltica Estonia in this project. Rail Baltica Estonia is a main implementer Rail Baltica project in Estonia, inside Estonian borders. And we're responsible for the mainline construction and design and construction of the point type objects, such as terminals, stations, depots, and so on. Now jumping to today's agenda. Within next 10 to 15 minutes, I will give an introduction of the ongoing tenders, about the tenders that are going to be announced this year. And for ease of reference, I have separated them into categories for each quarter by publication dates, and the categories is the following, like station terminals, viaducts, main and railway. And then I tell you how to take part in our procurements, where to pay attention to, and all our procurements will be announced and published in Estonian Procurement Registry, and procurements above the international thresholds will be also announced in this European procurement website. Very briefly, the status of the project in Estonia. Now we are kind of nearing completion of the mainline design, and the full focus is on the mainline construction. And just for the note that these construction tenders, they also include some kind of design works. And the technical specification is based on master design, so contractor has to do the detailed technical design. Before I move on to the procurements, just briefly the scope of the Rail Baltica projects in Estonia. What is the portfolio? So the railway, it covers Estonia, and that length is 213 kilometers. Double track. We have 2 international passenger terminals, one in Tallinn, one in Pärnu. We have 2 infrastructure maintenance facilities, also near Tallinn and Soodevae, and another one in Pärnu. So we have 2 freight terminals in Muuga, north of Tallinn, and also near Pärnu. And we have 12 regional stops along the railway. We have 1 rolling stock depot near Tallinn. Then we have 24 aqueducts and 86 bridges and viaducts. So now to the main topic. I've already announced this year, let's say 3 major construction procurements. 2 are related to the mainline construction, and the construction scope is related to the substructure. these mainline constructions do not include any superstructure work such as ballast, rails, sleepers, electrification, CCS. So these are out of the scope. So starting with the first mainline construction that has been already announced, and it's open for the bids. It's Ülemiste-Soodeva section. You can see on the map the red circle, and length is approximately 5 kilometers. And the deadline for the submission of the tenders is May. And more detailed information of this specific procurement you can find in this registry, and the link. You can open the link, and then there's all the documents and detailed information. What's important to know that all the communications regarding procurement officially has to go through this Estonian procurement registry. And I will remind these communications also in each slide, because it's vital that there can't be no communications elsewhere. So another construction procurement that has been already announced is a section in Rapla County, starting from the Rapla border and goes to the Loone. The section is nearly 9.5 kilometers. The estimated cost is around 70 million. And the deadline for the submission of tenders is also May this year. And more information can be found on this website and this Estonian procurement registry. And these slides will be shared, and you can, I think, you can use these links to go and study these ones. A bit smaller procurement is related to one viaduct in Rapla County, and its cost we expect to be around 5.5 million. And it's in Rapla County, and the deadline for the submission of the tenders is May, 10th of May. So about the procurements that will be announced. Second quarter, there will be one mainline section, Loone-Kuku, the length of 7.2 kilometers, and the expected value of the contract will be around 62 million. Another procurements related to the viaducts. Altogether, 5 viaducts procurements will be announced. 2 of them, Juula and Parila, will be procured by us, Rail Baltica Estonia. And the rest 3, they will be procured by Estonian Transport Administration in close cooperation with us. So there's 2 viaducts are in one procurement. Another Kangro traffic junction is a separate one, and it includes 5 structures. There's only one construction procurement, and it's related to Ülemiste passenger terminal. And the scope of works includes construction of northern streets of the terminal and relocation of the tramway. And its anticipated value is around 13 million. And the busiest quarter will be fourth quarter this year, where we are going to announce 6 mainline construction tender. You can see on the map, let's get starting from the north, Soodeva station. It includes the station area, substructure work for station, and 2 major structures like Lagedi road viaduct and Lagedi tunnel. And the tunnel length is approximately 700 to 800 meters, so quite huge one. Moving to the south, next circle, the bigger one, section starting from Vaskala-Ülemiste channel to Kangro. Its length around 6.8 kilometers. And further down, it's another one is Kangro-Saku, more than 11 kilometers. And then last one in Harju County will be the Saku and Harju border with a length of 8.1 kilometers. There will be 2 sections in Rapla that we're going to procure this year. Kuku-Alu, a smaller circle, and beneath this the longest section, Alugartla 17.2 kilometers. And just briefly reminding what is this, what the scope might be. So the substructure works includes excavation, filling works, embankment construction, also with some retaining walls, noise barriers, fencing, structures such as road viaducts, aqueducts, utility works, access road constructions, maintenance road constructions. The scope varies, and the detailed scope will be available in the tender documents. And yes, that was overview of the land procurements. And just note that these outland procurements that I went through, these were all above international thresholds. These are major ones. And how to participate in our tenders. So all the tenders will be announced in this Estonian procurement registry, and they also appear when they're above the threshold of the international tender. Also will be available in this European registry, TED. Also, you can find information about the procurements in informative way from our webpage, Rail Baltica Estonia and RB Rail. Like Kristen introduced these procurement principles, these thorough documents like the guidelines. I really recommend to study these ones, and then you have a better picture of what to expect and what is expected from us. Quickly, what we have noticed and what we have experienced, especially regarding international participants, that the requirements sometimes are not met, especially if there's like the requirements for certain documents to be submitted, and if any of these documents is missing, then it means disqualifications. It means that you can't later on, when the submission deadline has passed, you can't supplement your documents for tender anymore. And all the questions regarding procurements should be asked through this Estonian procurement registry. And all the answers will be given in 3 days. And just to give a glimpse, what might be the qualification criteria. Basically, this can be divided into 5 groups, with legal standings, financial turnover and liquidity, technical and professional ability, quality standards, environmental standards. And what's important to also pay attention is that if there's a requirements regarding quality and environmental standards, then and you're participating as a consortium, then these criteria applies both of you. So each of the company has to have these standards correctly. Going into more details, so if we go through some of the criteria and the requirements, most probably we will have in tenders are the following. Regarding legal standing, so the company has to have in its country's commercial registered registration. Regarding economic and financial standing, they have to have a 3-year average turnover, minimum 100% of the contract price. Liquidity ratio has to be 1 or more, and the company has to have a positive equity. Regarding technical and professional ability, company has to have at least fulfilled similar kind of scope work contract within the last 5 to 7 years. It might vary, and for at least the scale of 70% of the estimated contract value. And regarding key experts, probably there will be 5 to 7 year experience requirement. It also may vary, depends on the procurement. They have to have managed similar contracts, have to have an applicable qualification, and so on. And regarding quality and environmental management, you have to have ISO certificates or equivalents. And more information about this, the minimum qualification requirements, and else you can find this common procurement standard guidelines that Christian briefly explained, and point out where to find this document. Basically, that was it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Vaiko, for the great presentation. Truly enlightening. Hopefully also our viewers find the information valuable on Estonia. But hang tight, please, a bit, still a few minutes. We have received 2 questions from our viewers. First one is, how far along is the stage 1 construction procurement of the Pärnu cargo terminal? Can you share?
Definitely, it's not going to happen this or next year. If it's regards this terminal itself, but there's kind of terminal related. It's construction base and its value, it's below interest threshold. Its expected value is around 3 to 4 million, and it's kind of preparation for the construction base. It means that we can use this land. It's prepared for the storing construction materials. And if this can be read as a stage 1, then this is the case of this year. But regarding the terminal itself, it will be the matter of not even next year. It will be the matter of year 25.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. And the second question, similar, but more focusing on the construction itself. Our viewers would like to know, when will the construction of the Ülemiste Linde terminal and the Pärnu passenger terminal begin? Can you share some timeline, some possibilities?
Regarding Ülemiste, I would say that it has already started. That we have split the Ülemiste, let's say Ülemiste project, Ülemiste terminal, into different procurements, and 2 of them, first and second stage, has actually pretty much in the contract. Currently, it's in signing contract. We're in the contract signing phase. And the construction work starts, I would say, next month. The first phase involves 15-20 related works. So we need to relocate 15-20 tracks. The second stage that we signed the contract next month is related to the concrete works, all the tunnel, all the structures. And the third stage, I would say that this is the one we are going to announce this third quarter. And these are related to these streets, squares, and utilities, and this relocation of tram. And regarding Pärnu, I would also say that like major construction works regarding Pärnu, they start not before the year 25.
Well noted. That was it from the question side. And one more, once again, Vaiko, thanks for joining and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
So to continue on regarding updates on the Rail Baltica projects in specific countries, the next one I would like to introduce, moving on to Latvia, I would like to introduce our colleague from Eiropas Dzelzceļa Līnijas, the director of the project implementation department, Einārs Jaunzems. Einar, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners, and also colleagues here in presence. My name is Einārs Jaunzems. I work for EEST, the Latvian National Implementing Body, and as I was introduced, I'm the head of the Project Management and Implementation Department. And, well, I know this is a procurement webinar, but first off, let me start on a brief update, how we're doing in terms of the implementation of Rail Baltica and Latvia in general. Well, the answer is we're doing pretty much okay. Both of our international stations are under construction already for quite a while, and all of the base scope design works there are concluded, and some design amendments are necessary here and there for in order to include latest technical updated requirements, but in general, the work progress is going ahead, and we expect to finish works for the stations on time. We have also started to design our largest intermodal freight terminal in Salaspils. The design was started in the middle of last year, and actually today field investigations are started as well. This is quite a cold and snowy day outside in Latvia, so I give my best out to the guys in field starting to do boreholes, but we are moving ahead with the design. We have included there some design amendments to include also military mobility capabilities, which are becoming more and more important given the geopolitical realities, and we expect to finish the works in mid-2024. The regional stations, outside of our international stations, we also design 17 regional stations. 16 of them are for Rail Baltica route, and one of them is for existing 15-20 tracks. That is design we started late last year. We recently received the first design submittal, design in minimal composition. It's currently being under review by our colleagues, and then it's going to be submitted to the authorities, and we'll get the first building permits for all the stations. Infrastructure maintenance facilities, we have one in the north of country, one in the south, Skulteniecava. It's going ahead pretty well as well. We probably will receive a first ready design for the southern one in the middle of this year, and this will most likely be the place around which, in Iecava, we will start the construction of mainline outside of Riga. The mainline procurement itself is ongoing. I'll talk about this a little bit later in the details, as well as we have a currently ongoing tender for the design review and expertise services for all the previously mentioned design contracts that we have. It's for the freight terminal, for the infrastructure facilities, for the regional stations. As well, our colleagues from the infrastructure management department are working ahead with the development of infrastructure maintenance model, which involves different kind of services that are needed for this specifically. But as I mentioned, mainline construction and mainline supervision is the largest tenders that we currently have, and frankly speaking, in each respective field, they're the largest tenders in Latvian history. And we're talking about 220 kilometers of newly built double-track railway outside of Riga administrative territory. And we often get asked, why did we choose to go with the one contract? Because our neighbors, both north in Estonia and south in Lithuania, well, they chose a slightly different approach. And we had much of thought under this, and there were actually several conclusions. And one of them, well, obviously, larger contract gives economy of scale, both for the unit price and for the optimization possibilities. As well, larger contract with a larger contractor gives more financial assurance to the client that the works in the challenging period of time that we have will carry on. As well, thirdly, we are currently financing Rail Baltica from different sources of European funding. It's either Connecting Europe facility or it's the military mobility. And the funding is allocated in terms of the maturity of the project, meaning how soon are you ready to start the works after receiving of the funding. And well, we are receiving the highest possible level of maturity once we sign the contract with the contractor, because it's mobilized, the resources are there. As soon as we get the funding, we can get the works going, meaning we receive not only possibility to end the construction as soon as possible, we also receive assurance that the project will go on. So our contractor, his subcontractors, the supply chain, all the construction industry in Latvia can rest assured there will be a lot of work to do. We have received offers for the construction tender. We have received the qualification bids for the supervisor and engineer. We expect to receive their respective financial and technical offers in the beginning of May, and hopefully we'll sign the contracts in late summer. There are some other procurements that are upcoming, considering the fact that, well, we are designing a lot and we are building a lot, but that's not the entirety of the infrastructure that we need, and our needs keep growing and our needs keep developing. So we're talking about the design of 2 facilities. Both of the tenders will be announced expectedly at the middle of the year, and they're both located pretty close by each other. So the first one is the rolling stock facility in Jaunmārupe area. This will be a detailed technical design contract that we would tender out in order to receive not only the facility itself in terms of structure or in terms of the railway equipment there, but also the mechanical and technical facilities. And the other one is a multimodal cargo terminal nearby Riga airport. There as well, we have received the funding, and we want to announce the contract in the middle of the year. We understand that our deadlines, again, as always, are challenging. So hopefully by the beginning of next year, we can actually start the design works and sign the contracts and get ahead with that. In terms of the qualification requirements for the bidders and much of other technical things that the viewers of the webinar might be interested in. Well, since we have recently started to work on the tenders themselves, I can't comment on this much, but in general, usually our approach is that we try to align the qualification requirements with the scope of the service that has to be provided. So probably some design expertise in railways, in railway facilities, rolling stock facilities is something that we might be looking at when we devise the exact requirements for the designers for both of these procurements. And having touched the issue of the fact that we are ongoing with construction works in Latvia as well, let me briefly touch on the subject in case some of you visit the Riga center. It's quite hard to drive around the car there. Currently, there's a lot of street disruption. This is us. Sorry, it's temporarily. We are fixing it. It happens during construction. We have finished already several viaducts. We have finished the elevator shafts and the escalator shafts for the station building itself, and this 2.5 kilometer long section of Rail Baltica mainland that goes through the urban historical center of Riga city is currently fully under construction, and this is done again without interruption to existing railway traffic and with minimized interruptions as much as it's technically possible to the pedestrians and the drivers and the public transport on the street level. This was the first construction site that we started in Latvia. We started in November 2020, and currently we've invested over 100 million euros in the project itself, and it really shows if you visit the site. We have achieved actually quite a lot. And the other one, for those of you who happen to be flying into Riga or leaving out from Riga airport, well, there's a lot of construction works going on as well. You probably see our piling rigs are creating the pile field that we will need to start building up from the ground level, the superstructure. We recently closed down the existing motorway that went to the airport, and we built a new one. We will actually double that with a second access motorway in the coming months, and we are strongly on track to finish the station structure itself and the surrounding road network and external utility networks by the end of this year, and then we'll probably keep construction with the mainline viaducts towards both the Riga city and south towards the border with Lithuania. So progress is ongoing. Keep following us. Thank you.
Really, thank you, Einars, for the valuable presentation. Hopefully also our viewers found this information regarding Latvia valuable and interesting. But please stay for a few minutes. We have received 2 questions. So first of all, continuing on the main line, our viewers would like to know, when will the Rail Baltica mainline construction in Latvia, the construction itself, will it be started?
Okay, very good question. So we expect that we can sign a contract in late summer. And after the contract signature, well, there's a different procedures that you have to go through. There's a different sets of reports that the contractor has to provide in terms of the scrutiny, design review, the optimization suggestions, and so on. So the contract signature end of summer, the construction itself on site, guys physically with shovels digging, probably very late this year. Again, this little bit is connected with the progress with currently ongoing designs. We know that designs are coming in, so I truly believe that it is entirely achievable to get them approved by the end of the year, and well, hopefully this will happen.
Great. So Latvia getting more busier with construction works.
Definitely, every day.
And then there's a second question. Is there expected a technical feasibility study for Jaunmārupe rolling stock terminal?
Yeah, there actually is. And this is currently handled by our colleagues of RB Rail with the help of export pool. I understand that there is a small internal tender going on inside the export pool itself, and And this has actually been quite a useful tool in terms when you need the service very rapidly. It's easy to access. So whenever the next expert pool comes up for the RB Rail, I suggest the market participants to apply. It's a great way of us to having a rapid access to your services.
Great, thank you, Ainars.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on, last but not least, of course, we still in this segment have our colleagues from Lithuania, so I would like to introduce Mantas Kaušalis, the head of project implementation at LTG Infra. Mantas, are you here and can you hear us? Mantas? Can you please, Mantas, unmute yourself? Because apparently you have muted yourself.
Okay.
Oh.
Now it should work. So, hello,
Great.
everyone. Can you hear me now? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you. So, Mantas, the stage is yours for your presentation.
Just a second, I need to turn off another software. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so finally I can start. So I'm Mantas Kaušalis, head of project implementation in LTG Infra, which is implementing body in Republic of Lithuania. So I would like to start from the scope of Rail Baltica project in Lithuania. So our general aim is to design and construct about 400 kilometers railway network of 1435 gauge with 3 transport hubs or nodes in Kaunas, Vilnius, and Panevėžys, as well with 3 international passenger stations, again in Kaunas, Vilnius, and Panevėžys, at least 2 intermodal terminals in Kaunas and Vilnius, and other terminals, of course, will be built in Panevėžys as well. In parallel with military mobility initiative, there will be constructed about 7 military mobility areas in Šeštokai, Marijampolė, Kazlų Rūda, Kaunas, Vilnius, Jonava, and Panevėžys. Then 2 international airports of Lithuania and Vilnius and Kaunas will be connected with Rail Baltica as well. Again, 15 regional stations in all parts of Rail Baltica will be designed and constructed, as well 2 border stations, and it seems that's all. So we are implementing Rail Baltica, generally speaking, in 4 parts. In Kaunas, Vilnius, our most matured section, Kaunas Latvian border, Kaunas Polish border, and in Kaunas node. Then our major milestones are to be prepared for the construction works in all sections in the end of 2024. Then in the end of 2028, we are planning to launch pilot traffic operations in some international sections. At first, in Kaunas Panevėžys Latvian border. Then of course the aim is to launch pilot traffic operations in Kaunas Polish border and Kaunas Vilnius as well, and to complete project until the end of 2030. So it means all construction work should be finalized, and CCS subsystems should be designed and implemented, and of course testing services should be completed as well. Then let me present achievements in last year. So additional financing of 127 millions was acquired. Final phases of ongoing special planning were started. So the planning, special planning is now in 3 sections in Kaunas Vilnius, Polish border Kaunas, and Kaunas Node. Then some minor planning we have in Panevėžys railway node with the aim to find a new location for the Panevėžys International Station, let's say in the vicinity of the center of Panevėžys. And another task is to finalize the territorial planning for regional stations from Kaunas to Latvian border. For this, other regional stations, the services are included in ongoing our special planning documents from Kaunas to Vilnius, Kaunas Node, and Kaunas Polish border. Other achievements are design procurements for point type objects are announced. Later on, I will go to more details. Then, of course, development of infrastructure management model continues. Priorities for this year. So again, fast forward for the construction in direction towards Latvian border. Then special planning of both Rail Baltica main lines as well of Kaunas Node should be completed until the end of this year, probably for Kaunas Node, and infrastructure maintenance facilities, territorial planning and air procedures should be finalized even in the end of this summer. Then the aim for this year as well, coordination and approvals of special plans with the governments to receive their final decisions, and with them we will start the land acquisition for the public needs, where we will start in parallel the designing services. So next slide for the project financing. So today we have more than €500 million, 530 million allocated funds for the special planning, land acquisition, design, construction. Utilized funds about 108 kilometers for the same activities, and we are planning to submit European Union's grant application for 450 million. This will go for land acquisition and construction works. Speaking about construction strategy, so we are at first implementing it in the horizontal split. So it means construction works are divided into design priority sections geographically. So you see from it the example from Kaunas to Latvian border. The same strategy is applied for Kaunas Vilnius and Kaunas Latvian border as well, and vertical partitioning scope of construction works. So it means we are dividing construction works into embankment and structures construction, as well melioration systems and access roads construction works. Then next level is for the upper track construction, and all the projects will be implemented within electrification and traffic control systems, or any CCS subsystems designing and implementation, and of course testing. Implementation progress. So territorial planning and land acquisition procedures for public needs have been completed in the most matured section from Kaunas to Polish to Latvian border. Then for the same part or section, design is in progress. So I would say that not in the progress, but in the final stage. We are acquiring building permissions, and we are already using most of that documentation for the construction tenders. So the construction is in progress as well. Access road in the second section from Šveicarija, Žeimiai is almost completed for the access roads. Then for the embankment and structures, the same section from Šveicarija to Žeimiai, and next section from Žeimiai to Šėta is already started, the construction works. As well, the construction works are started for the Neris River Bridge. And we have now ongoing tenders for first section from Kaunas to Šveicarija, and second ongoing tender from Šėta to Ramygala, priority section. In the nearest month, there should be started for the non-priority section for the same let's say section from Šėta to Ramygala. A market consultation on the installation of upper track construction has been published as well. We have some questions already received. We are preparing the answers. So that activity, we can state that is already started as well. Then for the implementation progress for the Kaunas Lithuanian Polish border and Kaunas Node and Kaunas Vilnius. So as well, I would like just to repeat that we are in the final stage of the territorial planning and EA procedures. So it means that in the end of this year, we will be prepared, not prepared, we will have final approvals from the government, from the environmental agency. And in parallel, we are now launching the tenders for the land acquisition and technical design. So we are aiming that in the third or fourth quarter of this year, we will have signed the contracts for the design. So there is a huge pocket for the design services, for the design tenders announced. I just want to repeat that there are 3 main lines from Kaunas to Vilnius, from Polish border to Kaunas Node, infrastructure maintenance facilities, regional stations in section Kaunas Vilnius as well. Vilnius Node now are procured, and we have very big challenge how to manage all these procurements. So we are open and we are waiting everyone from the market to participate in our tenders. We are asking to do not hesitate to contact us in any question regarding these tenders, because it's a huge challenge for us and for the market, especially local companies, which will support international companies as well. So our aim is to be prepared for the construction works in the end of 2024. And what additionally I would like to state that, of course, we are providing all the best for the optimization of our activities. So as you see, our activities now all aligned, and most of them are going in parallel. We have updated our legal acts, our laws for the land acquisition, territorial planning, the construction works, which permits us to take the land for the public needs at the same time and to start the designing. As well, we are with the help of National Land Services, we have a right to start land acquisition even before approvals of the territorial planning. So we are doing all the best for the better acceleration of our activities. Implementation progress for the local facilities. So as I have mentioned, there is ongoing Kaunas Latvian border and Panevėžys node territorial planning processes with in parallel EA procedures. Then infrastructure maintenance facilities in Kaunas and Panevėžys. Let's say that these facilities are already planned, and now we are just awaiting for the market participation for the technical design services, and other procurements are announced for Kaunas Vilnius regional stations, and for Kaunas railway station and Vilnius railway node station stations design. What should be announced as well, that with the help of our optimization, we are planning even this year to start technical design services for the Panevėžys node development and regional stations Kaunas Latvian border. So next slide is with precise details, precise dates. So as you see, most dates are targeted to the next month, and we see that probably some of these submission dates will be prolonged due to the asks from the market. So once again, we would like to ask you to participate, actively participate in our design procurements, as well in construction works procurements and land acquisition procurements. And if you have any questions, any proposals how to optimize, or just to let's say to align technical requirements, please do not hesitate to contact our procurement committees or directly us, me, and my colleagues. Regarding ongoing procurements for the construction works, so there we have a very good and effective system within procurement terms, that at first we have dynamic purchase system where all the market participants can apply, and they will be their qualification will be checked and approved, and when we will be ready to announce the final stage of the procurement or concrete procurement, we will announce it, and there will be much faster processes for the finalization of the procurement and sign the contracts. So once again, just want to remind that you can submit your proposals for dynamic procurement system for the construction works until these submission dates. After these submission dates, of course, they will be launched final stage of the procurement or concrete stage. And once again, you see our nearest procurement plans. So as I informed, next month, this will be, let's say, miracle month, probably, that they will be announced another pocket for the land acquisition tenders. So for the all our sections in April, we are planning that the contracts will be signed on September, and we will start land acquisition services, which will be finalized probably in the end of 2025 or in the beginning of 2026. Then design services for the Panevėžys node and regional stations in Kaunas Latvian border section will be announced in the end of the summer. Panevėžys node probably in the autumn, but I suppose that there could be some changes, and if we'll be quite fast and we'll be prepared, we'll announce for the Panevėžys node even faster. And the nearest procurements for the construction works for the FIDIC services, for the construction supervisions, you see on the screen as well. The procurement of qualification assessment system, let's say, will be is already announced this month. The contract signage is foreseen on June 2023. Then the construction of embankment structures, melioration systems, access roads are planned for Kaunas Šveicarija and Šėtara Mygala on the summer in July, and Kaunas Šėtara upper track construction installation. Now market consultations are ongoing. When we will finalize, we are planning that on the August of this year we'll start the procurement, which will be finalized probably next year in August with the signage of the contract. Other sections from Šėtara Panevėžys will be announced for the construction works for the upper track construction installation works on February next year, and Kaunas Palemonas Jiesė Rokai assessment additional services, which let's say I would dedicate to the design services. This evaluation will be announced next month in April 2023. So once again, we would like to ask you to be proactive and let us know and let us hear all your proposals and proposals how to improve, how to accelerate our procurements and to be lucky in the contracts implementation. So thank you.
Thank you, Mantas, for the excellent presentation on Lithuania. Of course, please stay 2 minutes. We have received 2 questions. One of them, hopefully you can also answer, is from one of the suppliers. They are interested, is there any plans for LTG Info regarding Rail Baltica on the IT infrastructure for cargo handling operations, TOS, and on analytics and planning segment for that?
We would like to probably to analyze a little bit better that question because now we are aiming, as I presented, for the let's say first stages of the project, and that IT systems, of course, they should be analyzed, they should be purchased, but I believe that such tenders should be announced probably in 2026 when all structures, let's say railway sections, will be already constructed. But in any case, all such type of tenders can be announced, or market consultations could be started as well.
Fairly noted. And the second question is from our viewers, when it will be clear where the international Panevėžys station will be located? Can you share some details?
Our general idea to find the place as most as we can, let's say in the nearest place to the Panevėžys center or to Panevėžys densely populated areas. Let's say to serve as much as we can local passengers from the Panevėžys to shorten the distance between densely populated areas to the station. So now we have several alternatives identified by our planners, and next month, surprise month, let's say, our alternatives with cost-benefit analysis, multi-criteria analysis, and strategical impact assessment will be publicly available. We will start public consultations, public hearings processes, and in the end of the summer, I believe that our planning organizer, Ministry of Transport, will approve the best alternative. Then we will finalize the special plan next year, probably in June, according to our Jan charts agreed with our service provider. And after the approval of the special plan, again, land acquisition and technical design preparation services will be started. That's why we are planning this June to start procurements for the land acquisition and technical design, of course, separate procurements for the Panevėžys node development.
Fairly noted. Thank you, Mantas. No more questions from our side, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, too.
Okay. So, dear viewers, thank you for hanging in still with us. 2 of the major subjects are done. 2 more to follow. A few comments from my side. Please remember, any questions you want to ask regarding procurement, you can do it via Slido application. With 2 possibilities, either writing the hashtag Rail Baltica Procurement 2023 or scanning the QR code. We will try to answer them as best as possible. Second thing, of course, also if you missed something, the beginning or so, it will be later on available on YouTube, this webinar. And of course, all the presentation materials will be shared with those who previously subscribed with the event form. So once the event is finalized, presentations will be sent to you. So moving forward, the next segment on our webinar is updates on the railway subsystem and consolidated construction material procurements and subcontracting options. And first, regarding the systems, the presentation will be done by our procurement manager at RB Rail, Aiga Benfeld. So Aiga, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Eva. Good afternoon from snowy Riga. Today, my presentation, I would say, will be a bit shorter than in other webinars, as part of you may know that both procurements for NA and CCS design and build are ongoing. So we have limited options what we can for what we can inform you. However, still there are some topics I would like to touch upon today to focus maybe more on the scope and the current status. I already saw some questions in the slide as well, that there is interest on CCS candidates. So yes, yesterday we had the opening. So in my presentation, you will get this info as well. So very fresh one. And then I would like to start with energy subsystem design and build procurement. Before I go to the current status, once again, I want to show you the scheme which introduces the scope, because as one of today's topics is subcontracting, then I think it is valuable once again to go through the disciplines, what are included in the scope. So once again, all 870 kilometers of Rail Baltica is in the scope of this procurement. It will be SFC technology, and it will include all 3 main systems, so overhead catenary, traction substations, and energy control command system. So I would say these, if you are in the energy sector in these disciplines, the further information also for you will be valuable. If we speak about the status, currently we are heavily working on the 2nd stage procurement documents to be able to launch the 2nd stage of the procurement beginning of May or end of April, depends how it will go. and with a plan to conclude the contract January, February, so beginning of next year. And here you can see full deployment timeline. And here I want to also stress that part which is on the right side, so the deployment of the construction, design and construction. So again, considering the scope that I already presented, and if you see that your company would be interested to be part of this deployment, then I can show you the list of the candidates which we currently have qualified for the second stage of energy design and build procurement. So these are 3 big candidates consisting of all, I would say, main market players in the field. Therefore, if you see any ideas or you're interested to be part of the project, I would kindly ask to look into possible cooperation. I will further in my presentation inform also on subcontracting approaches, but this will be a bit later. And then CCS. So here as well, I want to show you all the systems, what are included, because it's not the TSI only. So it includes all the systems related to the control, command, and signaling of the railway. Therefore, again, if you find somewhere in the list the systems where you're interested in to propose or offer your services or products, then again, you're kindly invited to follow CCS design and build procurement and to see which candidates will be qualified and invited for the second stage of the procurement, and who at the end will be the contracted entity. And as well on the status, so for ENE we have already second stage very close. For CCS, we are still in the first stage of the procurement. So as I said yesterday, we have opened the applications in the first stage. So now we will start to go through and evaluate which candidates shall be qualified and which ones not. And again, the aim is to launch the second stage in autumn this year and conclude the contract in mid-2024. And as well here you can see on the right side full deployment timeline which is ahead. And here the timeline is even until 2032, but this is including the defect notification period, so the time after the operations as well. And with big pleasure, I introduce you the list of the candidates, what we have now in the CCS design and build procurement. So we have received 5 applications. Here you can see the candidates and the partners of the persons of the partnerships. Again, I would say we have, I think, reached a great result, and all the main market players are participating. So as I said before, if you see that your products or services are something that is included in the scope, and then I kindly ask to follow up later who will be the qualified candidates, and then you can already plan some and propose some cooperation. And the last slide on the subcontracting approach, a few things I want to mention. First of all, regarding the subcontractors, the main idea and what we also have, for what we have also received an explanation from Latvian Procurement Monitoring Bureau. So it is possible to indicate in the procurement subcontractors, several of them simultaneously for the same scope of works. So in case there is a scope where you don't know for sure which will be the solution to be chosen further when the contract will be executed. There is an option to indicate several of them. Of course, for all of the subcontractors, the exclusion ground check will have to be done, but it gives flexibility to indicate several ones, and then the contractor during the contract execution can choose which one of them will be chosen actually for doing that scope. Here I want to mention also one aspect. This was touched upon also in my presentation in previous webinar, that currently ENE and CCS procurements are organized according to previous Latvian public procurement law. So it means the requirements on the exclusion ground check for the subcontractors is according to previous version of public procurement law. So this means that the subcontractors which will be indicated in ENE or CCS procurement phase will be checked according to previous Latvian public procurement law. It means it will be checked against the exclusion grounds only the subcontractors which scope is 10% or more from the total contract price. And the second aspect, of course, is that it is allowed to attract new subcontractors during the contract execution. So therefore, this is not also the case that if you haven't indicated a subcontractor during the procurement, you are not able to attract and or replace the subcontractors later. In this case, the situation will be a bit different regarding the exclusion ground check. So during the contract execution, if a new subcontractor will be attracted or existing one replaced, then the exclusion ground check will be done according to the new Latvian public procurement law. So it means that it will be checked all subcontractors which scope or share of the contract is 10,000 euros or more. So the difference is quite huge before, between the regulation before we had and the new one. So actually, this is all from my side. Eva, if there aren't any questions, please.
Yep. Thank you, Aig. Feel free to take the seat. We will do the questions after together with the next presentation. But thank you for the insightful presentation on systems and possibilities possibilities on subcontracting options. And next, to continue this segment, the next presentation will be more regarding on our consolidated procurements, and this presentation will be led by our colleague from RB Rail, Mārtiņš Blaus, who's the procurement manager at RB Rail. So Mārtiņš, yeah, it's you. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And as been said, I will be giving updates on consolidated material procurement. My name is Mārtiņš Blaus, I'm procurement manager. And first I will begin most probably with a status update. And from entire package, we have launched all 7 procurement exercises, 7 materials. Namely, we have launched procurements for cable channels, sleepers with the fastening system, supply of the rails, turnouts, including rail expansion joints, supply of the ballast, supply of fence, and supply of noise barriers. So as you see, it's quite a list, and the volumes as well on this slide you see are quite extensive and not usual. I must say, I perceive this as not usual for local market. And that's why actually I want to use momentum and say thank you to all of the candidates, tenderers, bidders, all participants who has taken a part in our procurement exercises, who has submitted the applications and who are currently competing between each other to enter into framework agreements for these supplies. As you see on this slide, these procurement procedures, each of them is in a different stage and different stage of the events related to finalization and entering framework agreements. Most of them we have completed the qualification stages. Therefore, we have listed compliant bidders, and they have been invited to the second stage of the procurement. So basically, the documentation with a very specific locations and conditions, including framework agreement and supply strategy is given so that they are able to calculate, risk assess, analyze supply solutions, and provide us economically the most advantageous proposal and bid. So with the cable channels, we have progressed the farthest, so we are in negotiation process currently. Rest of the superstructure materials are currently at the initial bidding phase. Bids will be landing soon, and then we will enter into negotiations. And in future slides, I will tell you what's and where this is very important to us, important to the market, important to the project, and important for the entire global project construction works. So a little bit about the framework agreement itself and principle of the sourcing of the materials and establishing the supply chain. So there are obvious several benefits of this process. For the supplier, it is becoming a confirmed supplier of the Rail Baltica project. So basically it's qualified, products are qualified, company itself is qualified, and it becomes as a single supplier, because the frameworks works in the way that we contract under the framework agreement one manufacturer supplier for the specific material good. Then it enables as well plan the resources, plan capacities, and actually using this planning approach leading to the successful operations, and eventually it will be mirrored in the costs so that we see benefit of. And again, this is by getting as a confirmed supplier under the framework agreement. You have to understand this is a very long-term contract. So basically, it will cover entire construction period of the Rail Baltica railway. So this is a platform and a chance to supply all of the respective goods under the framework agreement. Of course, for the client, we see a lot of the benefits, and not limited to the cost, not limited to the price, optimum price, but we see there more benefits, such as predictable strategy for the pricing mechanisms and escalations, de-escalations throughout the entire construction period, because it's a lengthy process, and as we have experience in the past, many different situations geopolitically might affect the availability of the product in the markets. Same time, this reliability and supply chains that we have, cooperation and the partner contracted, allows us to face these challenges and risks of the markets together, and share these risks and challenges what we might face. Outcome of this cooperation process under the framework agreement, of course, we see one is very important, that the entire Rail Baltica railway line has to meet the TSI standards and the same quality and durability, reliability standards and requirements. So this is the way and approach and the key how we make sure that actually sourcing consolidately materials for entire project, we meet these technical and quality requirements. And that leads to actually the process that me, myself, and very talented team of the experts in Procurement Commission is actually working on currently with the consolidation of the supply. So we have these three phases, as we call them. Currently, we are in the procurement phase, where procurements are running, and very important moment of the procurement that we now are exercising is the negotiations. Negotiations are meant that we can align with the manufacturers and producers and suppliers. We can align on a very critical conditions of the framework agreement. So basically establish the partnership and cooperation where we can share the risks, we can foresee the situations which we'll have to tackle and mitigate, and we can understand who's and where is liable for any challenge or circumstance which might occur at the time. After successful procurement phase, we enter into framework agreements, what I explained in previous slide, where this flexibility is very important since we have very long-term framework agreements established. So indexation of the prices is one of the main topics that's been as well addressed by the market, and we realize in our organization that this is something that we need to and we want to resolve so that contracts are not in favor or not subject to huge risks of termination, or we don't want to put the manufacturer in a situation that they have put a lot of on the risk margins, then the price becomes uncompetitive, and same time we are losing on the some risks which might not occur eventually. So this is our approach. We're selecting, and these companies who are already participating in these procurements are seeing the approach that we are providing. After successful signing of the framework agreements and finalizing the negotiations, we enter into the phase where we have contracted manufacturer. I say manufacturer / supplier. There's different cases we have in ongoing tenders, and this is where actually we begin immediately, and we don't begin with the supplies already. We begin with the cooperation, establishing relationship, planning. We're learning from each other what can happen and how can actually more successfully and efficiently organize logistics. And providing the information and visiting sites and testing the supply chain eventually, and using the tools for supply and logistics. As you see, the delivery area for the materials is quite extensive. These are 800 kilometers across 3 Baltic countries. Therefore, we have established the main locations for the delivery of the respective goods. These are 2 infrastructure maintenance facility areas which we will transfer in the construction process as a material basis in each of the Baltic countries. But not limited to this, because since we don't have yet mainline construction companies contracted, and their approaches between the countries might a little differ, therefore we have as well foreseen the flexibility under our framework agreements, where can we actually as well choose the alternative locations for the supply. So this is what will take place, these challenges and after designing the framework agreement, where we'll have to establish these supply chains actually according to situation, according to phasing of the construction works and the stages it will take place. And this is eventually as well benefit of the framework agreement that we see. And if we look more closely to the infrastructure maintenance facility area, which is meant to be as a construction base during the construction works, we look at these areas as a possibility to, before even the construction works takes place, to use this area as a stockpile. To ensure the material availability for the construction company, so that we don't delay the construction works, and the processes can be carried out as soon as we have contractors onboarded. And therefore, to make sure that we have availability of the materials, there will be several tools used for the planning and ordering, and this is as well the process before actual actual supplies are happening, where we have this cooperation with the manufacturers and suppliers. So time before, after, right after frameworks signatures, we will use to learn and test the systems for ordering. And one of the key items of the ordering system is a rolling forecast. And this is as well a tool to provide the ability to the manufacturers to plan their capacities, raw materials, and examine logistic chains, suppliers, and all realm what is required to deliver materials at the site, and the means of transportation, of course, which would be more efficient and same time will provide the best result. And the key for that is rolling forecast. And rolling forecast is the thing actually where after the framework agreement is signed, all the setup is made, we provide the figures and quantities and volumes which are required as per work execution plans, which we will receive from the construction company when they will be contracted, and they will establish the schedules of the construction work. So basically this all information works in collaboration together, where we can provide, and there are several conditions related to forecasting system. So when we issue 12 months rolling forecast, we give not only limited to these 12 months, we as well provide information on the next year. That would enable manufacturers to ensure the capacities and raw materials for production. And that would as well allow us to understand and learn that where can be possible supply chain bottlenecks, and we can use these tools for different risk mitigations, not limited to ones what I have named at the moment. And this happens throughout all entire construction process, and within each forecasting process, into the 12 years when it's given, we organize supplies based on purchase orders. So after a rolling forecast is provided, year is kicked off, and we actually, for the period of the next months or according to work execution plans, where the materials are necessary and how much, we place POs. Same time ensuring that we have a stockpile availability to manage the risks of insufficiency of the materials in case, and different such as conditions. So more or less, this is about the approach and principles of the framework agreements for the supply of the consolidated materials. And then, of course, as you saw in previous slides, there are several steps and stages how materials get into site and are installed by the construction contractor. Therefore, since all of the material categories currently which were established, such as under the consolidated procurements, has been launched, it doesn't mean that there are no possibilities to still take a part in this supply chain process. As you saw, the volumes are huge. Area of the delivery and supply is quite extensive and covering 800 kilometers across 3 Baltic states. So I've listed a couple of, and not limited to, not exhaustive list, items where the local companies, local suppliers can chip in. Information related to the companies which has applied for our supply materials is available in Rail Baltica webpage, and you will find these lists. In case you in case you have issues, you can always drop an email to the procurement at railbaltica.org, and the information will be provided. Yeah, this is more or less about the framework agreements, and thank you for listening, and hope to see you in our procurements.
Thank you, Martin. Truly insightful presentation. Would like you to ask to sit down next to Aiga, as we have received some questions, so I will also join them. We will have a quick Q&A session to answer all your, well, not all, sorry, but the majority of your questions. Also starting with EIGA, we probably discussed this in presentation, but we received still the question. Can you please comment on how far is the electrification procurement currently?
So we are in the second stage of approaching the second stage of the procurement. We are preparing the documents to issue the second stage. The plan is to have it launched by end of April, beginning of May. So this means then we will have to give sufficient time for the proposal preparation, and the plan is to conclude the contract by beginning of next year, January, February 2024. So that's the main milestone deadlines that we have at the moment.
Understandable, then busy end of the year for CCS team. Thank you. Martin, our viewers asked, is the consolidation of the supplies for construction materials, is this an Rail Baltica established practice or it comes from the industry?
It's a very good question, actually. At some point, I believe we are not designing new bicycle here, and this approach is widely spread across the infrastructure managers of the railway infrastructure across the Europe. As we know, the Deutsche Bahn has a qualified list of the suppliers. SNCF does the same. Our neighbor Scandinavian railway infrastructure companies as well. They qualify, pre-qualify their suppliers, manufacturers with the same aims and same goals to make sure the availability of the materials and to achieve better price conditions, better supply conditions, and many more aspects towards this. So basically, I would say this is market standard practice that we apply. Little bit, of course, tweaking and working towards a more sustainable approach. We have implemented into our supply procurements many environmental requirements and conditions for the evaluation. So we kind of encourage manufacturers look at the more environmental friendly logistics and production as well. So little tweaks, but I believe we are using the market and industry standards.
Great. There is also a question. Can you please elaborate on the decision of procuring ticketing, real-time information system, and other small items together with signaling tender, as it's not common practice anymore due to potential vendor lock-in?
Well, this is quite, I would say, technical question, not so much for me, but for my colleagues from CCS team. In general, the idea is to combine under one contractor full CCS, as there are a lot of systems included. Yes, indeed, but the strategy and the idea is that we have one general contractor who is responsible for the implementation of the systems, and as was also indicated in the slide where all the systems were listed, the system integration also is one of the tasks what should be done by CCS contractor.
This hopefully answered also to our viewers. Martin, there was also continuing on the subject on the infrastructure maintenance facilities. Has the final locations have been chosen, or it's just an area of idea?
Yeah, this is again a very good question, right? So we have locations specified. We have initial designs and design processes taking place currently. So we are sure of more than half of the locations exactly, but there might be some changes throughout the design process, and not only because material bases, actually these are subject to specific construction requirements, which includes as well environmental impact assessment, and it depends as well on the area where could be the location. If it's urban area, then most probably we'll have to shift some places and move it a little bit. But if we look from the supply perspective, then these will not be such a huge changes that would impact on the price if we move it 1 kilometer one or another way. Because more important is the access to the storage area, transportation means which can access, and and these are more important questions, I believe. But if under this question is more detail and substance required, then I would encourage to contact us through the procurement@railbaltica.org, and we'll try to find the answer.
Great. And then just maybe also continuing, one of the viewers wanted to know how all the consolidated materials such as sleepers, ballast, what is the plan for them to be transported? Is there some kind of logical aspect you can share on this?
I like our viewers today, the question, because this is something most probably I didn't touch upon in my presentation, but it's really important. There is no limitations to transportation means, but as a project that we consider as well as ourselves as a green project, therefore we would appreciate if the transportation means would be more environmental friendly, and by that most probably we're looking at the railway transportation and other means you can find that would reduce the carbon footprint, basically. But it's not mandatory, it's not limited to. Those ones participate in procurements, they see the evaluation methodology where it leads to, but if you would be engaged into the supply process as a subcontractor, and you may do and approach the companies which are participating, I would encourage you to propose the means more environmental friendly.
Great. Thank you for the answer. I got fairly technical question, but hopefully you can share some answer. There was a question: has Rail Baltica procured an expert service for the position and supply of the management and control of electromagnetic compatibility and exposure to electromagnetic fields from traction and non-traction HV power supply? I hopefully didn't butcher the words. So,
great technical question for me. I will have to level up to some engineer. But okay, I will not go in detail, but in general, so two parts what could be as a response to this question. First of all, we have an engineer in place. So we have concluded the contract with a consortium who is providing us the consultancy services in the preparatory phase for ENE, and also will be a FIDIC engineer during the construction phase. So therefore, partly this is in their scope. As well, it will be a part in higher detailization, also a scope for the contractor. So there are no separate services for that. This is something that is included both in an engineer already concluded agreement and the contract what we will have with the contractor further.
Great, excellent, and thank you for answering this technical question. And then there was one more question from suppliers coming in on the subcontracting options, and the question was: is it possible in the midst to change the subcontractor partner?
Yeah, this is what I tried to explain in my last slide, maybe not so successful, but okay, I will try once again. In the tender phase, you cannot change. So if you have proposed in your proposal list of the subcontractors, they stay there as it is. When you conclude the contractor, you're the winner of the procurement, then yes, you can change. There are several, preconditions. So if the subcontractor was used as an entity on which capabilities you were relying when you were submitting your proposal, there was, for example, some qualification criteria for which you use that particular subcontractor, so you comply with that qualification criteria. So in this specific case, if you are changing that subcontractor during the contract already, then you have to propose a subcontractor which fully complies with the same qualification criteria. So we will check and we will ask for the evidences that the change of the subcontractor doesn't change actually the quality or the qualification what was requested at the beginning.
Noted, and hopefully the viewer also got their answer on this possibility. And then the last question, I don't know if it's Igor Martins, but there was one specific question. Could you please provide more information for the grounds asking each of the consortium members to comply, for instance, with ISO or other requirements?
Well, it's a broad question. It's most probably related to one specific procurement. I can cover about the consolidated materials, of course. If there are requirement, and there is always a reason for the requirement. It's not just being qualified as an ISO. When we establish these qualification requirements and we apply, we look at the consortium and ISO provides some certainty that the management procedures in the organization are well established and therefore these companies, when we speak about consortium, there is no ISO related to the consortium, which is just a partnership established for the reason of one procurement. Therefore, it's really important that these companies, these partners and their internal management systems, how they operate, can work together well and provide the result. This is most probably portion of the answer that we can provide why consortium members are everybody's supposed to have the ISOs related to most probably management systems. 9001 most probably the question refers to. So along those lines, I can tell. But if that's subject to one or another specific procurement exercise, then I would as well invite to ask the question, and we could provide answer. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. That was something to add, maybe, or.
What I can add, it's not only always ISO what we are asking. We are asking also if the company has equivalent standard or they have established in their company a management system which is compliant with the ISO standard. So it's not always ISO and nothing else. So we are trying to be flexible enough to get to the idea what Martin explained, that all members of the partnership has the same level of standard in their management system.
It's really good, Aiga, that you mentioned this, because yes, if you look at the qualification requirements and you see them challenging, first of all, you question. First of all, you ask contracting authority. Don't take them for granted. There are always alternatives and equivalents and ways, because in different areas, companies operates according to different principles. Maybe ISO is the one which connects these management processes and procedures. It's more reliable, understandable for us to pick up that the organization and companies is sound and good. But if you have any another procedures or internal own processes, not being qualified as ISO certificate, something. This is where you don't put yourself out of the competition. Ask the question. It could be the case that your management system actually meets the same requirements, and this is simple to prove. And many of our suppliers has already gone through these procedures and proven that it doesn't mean that the one brand of the management systems is compliant.
Excellent. Thank you. No more questions from the viewers, but thank you truly for both of the presentations and the answers shared. Hopefully also our viewers found it valuable at this point. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And moving on, the last segment of our webinar, last but not least, of course, this segment now will focus on it was a special request from our viewers or suppliers that can we share the handy tips that are specific for e-tender systems in each of the Baltic states, because as well you know, each state has their own specific e-tender system, and for each country, we will have a representative who will share these tips and tricks. And starting first will be our colleague Elina Saul, the procurement manager from Latvia. Elina, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Eva, for introduction. Dear participants, it's an honor to be here today. And since in almost every procurement procedure, we have interested suppliers who are not yet registered in the electronic procurement system and are not familiar with it, Today, I would like to guide you through some main tips and specifics for the Latvian electronic procurement system. So RBRL procurements are organized in accordance with Latvian public procurement law. And that means that all these procurements are launched only within electronic procurement system. It doesn't matter if it's two-stage procurement or whether it's open competition, it still will be launched in this electronic procurement system. So the registration in the system can take up to 1 week. So please note that you cannot leave this till the last minute. If there are no errors in the registration blanks and you have submitted and fulfilled all application forms without no errors, then it should take up to 3 working days. So there are different functionalities which are for registered and non-registered users. For example, if you are not a registered user, actually only thing that can be provided by the system is publicly available data on the published procurements, or for example, market research templates. So you will see, of course, all the published information, but you will not be able to request the questions through the system. Also, for the registered users, there is a possibility to list this particular procurement as your favorite one and therefore receive all the updates on this procurement in your email. So you can save your time, not go in this webpage and check each day what is new to this procurement. Of course, all the evaluation procedures, submission process, and also communication with the procurement commission is happening there. You will see in our regulations that for non-registered users, we are providing also an option to submit the questions through the email mentioned in the regulations, but this is only till the submission process. So, about the registration itself. For the Latvian registered companies, it is a little bit easier because they have 2 options. They can self-register in the system and they can also fill in these 2 blanks. But for the foreigner companies, there's only this one option. You have to fill in 2 blanks, which are available in the State Regional Development Agency. One is participants authorization, administrator authorization blank, and the second one is registration blank. Both of them need to be signed. So you have 2 ways how you can sign them, whether you use secure electronic signature or you physically sign the document, and then of course you send this signed by the mail. Then also it is important that after registration, you will receive in your email password, username, so you can log into the system. And then you will have a possibility to create the users and assign roles for subsystem. There are several roles to be assigned. So authorized signatory of the supplier, supplier's proposal preparer, and supplier's supervisor. Most of the time, suppliers use different persons, at least for the role signatory person and this preparer of the bid. But you can choose and assign yourself how it's better for you. These are those 2 registration templates that needs to be filled in. And of course, if there still are any unclarities, then please contact directly the person mentioned here in this slide. About the preparation of the proposal or application. So this is not a complicated process because contracting authority already has fulfilled requirements by adding the forms that you need to fill in for selection requirements, financial requirements, and other required things. What will help you is also please note that procurement may be announced into the lots, or you can apply for whole subject matter. So if you are applying for several lots, please do submit those documents for each of the separate lots. Don't just put all the documentation into the lots and then leave the other ones blank, because it will not work. Procurement Commission is assessing each of the lots separately. About the signing of the proposal, of course, it can be done only by a user who has been assigned this role. And also, in case you are applying as a partnership, there needs to be documentation where it is stated that all of the partnership members are actually delegating these rights to the one supplier who can sign this proposal on behalf of all participants. This is really, really important. And for example, if the person signing the proposal or application is acting on behalf of power of attorney or any other kind of document, this also should be then accompanied in the proposal form. About the questions and answers. So I would say that right of the supplier to ask questions is not only beneficial for the supplier, but also for the contracting authority. Because from the asked questions, contracting authority can better understand whether the requirements can be fulfilled, whether we can already see that there will be some difficulties with the requirements. Also, there is a possibility to propose amendments if supplier sees that something will not work out, and then Procurement Commission will assess such request on case-by-case basis, and of course implement if it's justified reasoning, and if contracting authority sees that these changes would be beneficial for whole market participants, not only for this one supplier who has requested to make these changes. About the submission and opening of proposals. So you may have already noticed that since the beginning of this year, we have included in our regulations requirements that submission of the proposals and applications and opening of them are 4 hours after. So there is a time gap. And this time gap was included in the public procurement law, and because time from time system has malfunction. So this actually gives a possibility for the state governed institution to shift this submission deadline and opening deadline for 24 hours if this malfunction is in accordance with these criteria, what you can see in the screen. So here's specific period of time where system has not functioned correctly, and so state institution by themselves will shift this deadline. So, and also what is here important about the opening sheet, how you can see who has submitted the proposal and what are the proposed prices. So this information is also published after the opening session in electronic procurement system. You will see all publicly available information regarding tenderers that have participated, of course, excluding the confidential information. And then at the end, I will give you some handy tips. So, for example, if you have not decided yet whether you want to apply or you don't want to apply for a particular procurement, you have a possibility to register for this particular procurement to receive an update and receive all the connected documents and changes regarding this. Also, the State Regional Development Agency has already prepared very brilliant instruction on step-by-step basis, starting from the registration process, then heading to the evaluation process, where it is explained how supplier can do each of those steps. So, this is all from my side. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Elin. Truly was valuable presentation on our Latvian e-tendering system, and I would ask you to join the seats.
Thank
and
you.
After all the presentations, we will have again small Q&A where we will answer all the questions related to the procurement systems. And now the next one, I would like to introduce our colleague, the procurement manager from Estonia, our own Margo Yogi, who will explain the Estonian procurement system. Margo, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Yeva. Hello. So as you heard, some practical information about the Latvian register, and I'm about to spread some knowledge about the Estonian register as well. There might be some interesting comparison points between the two, because the underlying principles are of course the same, but how have they been put into practice? There are some differences. So first of all, a small introduction to the register in use in Estonia. It's a central register. It's administered by the government, and it's of course free to all users, both contracting authorities and the tenders. It's the mandatory publication portal, and it enables to use the full cycle e-procurement. It is also enabled with authentication and signing possibilities based on the EEID system in use in Estonia. And it's open to all contracting authorities, be they from the public sector, the utilities sector, or grant recipients as well. The system is connected to other Estonian IT systems via the X-Road application, which enables to, for instance, check the tax arrears straight from the register without leaving the system. It also follows the only once principle, which means that once some information has been entered into the system, you, in principle, do not need to give it again. And the system enables information subscriptions to email and also saved searches, which is quite popular among the tenders. You can register in the system as an Estonian citizen via your EID card, and foreign participants can log in with their e-residence digital ID if they have one, or some other European ID system which adheres to the EIDAS principles. Or then there is the basic username and password system. And the important point here is that when you register a company to the procurement register, then you become the main user, and you can later then add other users to the system under that specific company. Questions and answers. This is one of the biggest uses of the system. It enables the tenders to ask the contracting authority questions before submitting their tenders. This is done via the information exchange worksheet, as you can see on the left there. And anytime your question is answered, or any question for that matter, you will receive a notification on your email, which is very handy. And this is also the same worksheet where contracting authority can turn to the tender and ask for additional information regarding its participation. And it's also useful to register your interest with a certain procurement even before you are certain whether you take part in it or not, because that way you will be also notified of the new questions and answers that other tenders might have asked the contracting authority. Tender submission, it's basically as simple as it can be. There are multiple worksheets you need to go through. The first one is general information, which is already fulfilled for you, keeping in mind the only once principle. Then you can also add joint tenders there and any subcontractors if you already know you have any. ESPD version 202 is also integrated into the Estonian procurement register, and this enables the tender to give its self-declarations in the system. This is done on the worksheet grounds for exclusions and selection criteria. And of course, any questions related to tender suitability criteria can be answered on the next worksheet. And this enables also to upload any documents that you might need to prove your criteria. And then, of course, award criteria is the last worksheet where you can input the price and other criteria which are used to award the contract. If there are any additional documents you wish to add to your tender, or if you haven't found any good place for them up to now, then there is also the worksheet called documents to include miscellaneous documents. And after all this is done, you should have 4 green ticks, which means that the tender is ready to be submitted. Signing the tender can also be done in the system, although the Estonian Public Procurement Act does not require the tender to be signed. The tender can be signed electronically, but if it's not possible, then the tender can still be submitted. As a practical side note, please check whether the contracting authority requires a separate paper version of the signed documents if you are unable to sign the documents digitally, and whether PDF scans or signed papers are accepted. And also please note when these paper copies need to be submitted, because usually it is the same time as the tender submission deadline, so you need to take that into account so that the delivery makes it on time. Opening of the tenders, well, it used to be done in a manner of a large meeting with minutes being taken. This is all in the past now, because in the register you can simply see the tenders if you are participating in that procurement. Or if you are not, then after the submission deadline has passed, basically everyone can see who is participating in that tender. The prices and other award criteria are only made available to those participating in the tender. And this information is opened minimally 1 hour after the submission deadline. As you heard previously, in Latvia, the deadline is 4 hours. In Estonia, this has been set to 1 hour. Evaluation stage, it's usually carried out in the register because there is there is no need to sort of exit the system to carry that out. Any clarifications which might be required from the tenderer are also asked in this stage and also via the register. And as mentioned, the tenderer receives an email notification anytime these queries are made. The exclusion grounds for Estonian participants can mostly be checked via the register itself. As said, it is connected via the X-Road layer, but for other participants from foreign countries, some additional documents might be needed to be submitted. And whenever a contracting authority asks you to submit these additional documents, please don't hesitate to ask for an extension on that deadline should you need more time to get these documents. The contracting authorities are usually very understanding in this sense. And although the register enables to conclude the contract via digital signature in the register as well, this is rarely used. Some final remarks, though. Make sure that you familiarize yourself with the documentation needed, and also make sure to ask clarifications whenever you see that some points are not totally clear. And the contracting authority then has the responsibility to answer to you within 3 working days. Make sure you are clear about which documents need to be submitted. This is also of key importance, and make sure you are clear on who they need to be signed by. Check whether the documents need to be submitted as originals, or maybe they need to be accompanied by an English translation. This must also be done before the submission deadline. And please make sure to note that the submission deadline as such is not only set by the date, but also the hour. And this is especially important to note when you are submitting a tender from any other time zone than the contracting authorities. And here are some useful links. Make sure to use them, and happy tendering. Thank you.
Thank you truly, Margo, for the presentation on Estonian systems. Please take a seat next to Elina. And now, last but not the least, we will share also information on the Lithuanian procurement system, and that will be done by our colleague, the procurement manager in RB Rail, Asta Žaltauskiene. So, Asta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lina. And nice to be here today for this interesting and I hope useful event for all the participants. And going on after my colleagues' presentations on Latvian and Estonian electronic procurement systems, I will show you some information about the Lithuanian one. So taking mainly the systems are rather similar, and there are no many technical issues in there, like if comparing to Latvian and Estonian one. But of course, the appearance of the systems and all the registration things, they can be a bit different, and each country has its specialties, let's say so. So, like for Lithuanian procurement system, you just can go through the indicated on the slide registration address. And after connecting to the site, you have to choose the English version of the page. It will help you to make a registration and to understand what is requested here. And after choosing the English version, just you have to press like register as a new supplier. You see on the slide this is marked red. And after that, you could start your registration. Actually, Lithuanian Public Procurement Office has prepared a very detailed instructions on the registration in the system and the use of the system. So for the registration, there is a separate detailed instruction in English language, the link to which you can also see on my slide. So I propose to all the new participants, of course, to use these detailed instructions. This for sure will help you to make everything more quickly and easily. And yeah, that's it. Then you fill in the requested form. You can proceed to the registration after sending it. But the main thing which I have to mention here, actually, in Lithuania, all the procurements which are below and above European thresholds, they are organized only in electronic system. So there is no any other possibility of participation. So if you are interested in Rail Baltica procurements in Lithuania, you have to be in the system. So please check the possibility and register here. The system is not requested to be used only for small procurements, which actually is not our goal and task which we use for Rail Baltica. Our procurements, they are really big and a very high value, so you cannot go on and proceed without registration in the electronic systems. So let's go further. Then we opened the registration form. In the system, actually, the registration form is very simple. Here, only the main things are asked to be provided, like the company name, registration number, address, phone, like usual data about every organization. And also you have to provide the contact means, like email, address, and phone numbers of the persons who will be administrating the system. And when you fill this in, you have to create your password and username. And that's it. The thing is done. Actually, the form is filled in. You have to save it. And after saving, this form proceeds for the next steps. It's for approval of registration. So approval of registration is done by Public Procurement Office of Lithuania. So your form is sent to this office for the check of the data. And actually, if your data provided is right and everything what was requested is provided, so your registration will be done rather quickly. Usually, it is done like in 1-2 days, but like not longer than 3 days, according to the procedure. Of course, if there is some information missing or something has to be added or some mistakes are in the form, you can be requested to clarify something or add. Then, of course, this term can be prolonged. So, as my colleagues also mentioned, here the main message is that never leave the registration in the system for the last day. If you are interested in the procurement and want to participate and want to be a part of a procurement in which you want to provide a proposal, please do that in advance. If you found information about procurement started, please go to the site and register as soon as possible. To have time to get used to that system and to understand how everything should be done there. So, after your form provided will be checked by Public Procurement Office representative and everything is okay, then company representative, which was indicated in the form as the person for the contacting, will be informed by email that the registration is done and that you are approved as a participant of the electronic procurement system. That's it. That's why here I have to mention that you have to be very careful about providing the data. actually, especially about indicating the email, because if you make a mistake here, you will not receive this answer on registration and will not be able to get information are you registered or not. So we finished our registration, and after that you are fully able to participate in the system, to get the information on the interested procurements, to provide proposals, and to be a participant of any procurement announced in Lithuania. What concerns the information on procurements, again, I have to mention here that companies sometimes they do not want to register in advance before taking the decision, do they want to participate or not. So there is a possibility to get the information on the procurements absolutely on all of them in the electronic system also. And this information you will find without any registration. This system is called Central Public Procurement Portal. So in this portal, absolutely all Lithuanian procurements are announced. So before, if you are interested, you can go to this portal and find procurements, even with adding a name Rail Baltica. The procurements which include such a name will be all filtered out, and you will be able to see what is announced and maybe which of them could interest you. And after that, you can take a decision to register or not. So after let's say, checking the system, if you are interested, the next step, go and register and become a participant of this interesting Rail Baltica event and this really biggest region project. So one more thing also, which I have to mention, very similar actually to the colleagues' procurement system. We have also the possibility to subscribe for a newsletter in this Central Public Procurement Portal, where you can get you can register for getting some procurements, specific procurements which you are interested in. So again, I suggest to use this opportunity not to miss this information and to get it on time. As I mentioned, as this electronic system usage in Lithuania is requested by the law, and we cannot somehow otherwise organize this. So any procurement after contract notice is sent for publication, it goes automatically to the Central Public Procurement Portal. So there is no any possibility that you will not find information on any procurement here. Next question is about market consultations. Usually companies are interested also to participate in market consultations organized by the contracting authorities before the procurements. And of course, that is a really very good practice and good thing to do that. And of course, there is also a possibility to do that using Lithuanian electronic procurement systems. So notices on market consultations are announced using the same Central Public Procurement Portal. So there you will find information not only on procurements, but also on market consultations. And there is a possibility to participate, let's say, in a process of even preparation for the procurement while joining some market consultations and providing your proposals, your insights maybe on the information provided, on technical things maybe. So again, the suggestion is always to use this opportunity to join and to be an active participant in the market consultations. And let's say to help the contracting authorities to prepare better, and of course to get yourself as a company also benefits from this, knowing more detailed information about the upcoming procurement, about the planned procedures, and benefiting from that also for a better preparation. So here only I have to mention one thing, that several years ago in Lithuania we had a request to organize a market consultation before the procurement, and we had to do that before any procurement. Now the market consultation is an option. It is not anymore an obligation. So the contracting authority has the right to decide, does it need market consultation or not? But I have to mention that really the practice is that usually before such a big procurements, which value is like millions or like several millions, it's usually organized because it really benefits for a better preparation and informing the market about upcoming procurement procedures. Yeah, so next thing about submission of application and proposals for procurement when you are registered in the system. Actually, the process is not really complicated because the system, I could say it's rather user-friendly. When you are in the system, you connect, you choose the procurement in which you are indicated, and you show your interest to be a supplier in this procurement. You will see actually rather clear instructions where you have to fill in the data, where you have to add your proposal, and how to do that. Again, I have to say, really, we have instructions on this provision of application and proposals. Really very detailed step-by-step instructions prepared by Lithuanian Public Procurement Office. And here on the slide, I've added the link to it. And of course, please use that. Usually, the main, maybe the most complicated thing here is the electronic signature usage on the proposal. But now the practice is that usually it's not requested to use the electronic signature due to the situation that signatures are different in the countries and not always readable by the systems. So usually it is only requested the proposal to be signed in the system and not more. Yes, and one more thing which I have to mention is that while you are already participating in the system and have provided some and have indicated some interest in the procurement procedure, in a specific procurement procedure, you will always receive an automatic email notifications from the system, and that makes a life of attenders easier, because you do not have to hang online and check if some information is provided. If the contracting authority added some information to the system and added some question or request or clarification or something, you just will get an email notification, and only after that you will need to connect to the system and to read what's written here. So again, it is rather helping possibility just to avoid very often checking of the system. Yeah, opening of proposals in the system. Again, as my colleague Margo said, we already forgot what it is, big meetings and opening the envelopes. Everything is happening in the electronic system, where at the indicated date and time, the system gives the possibility to the Procurement Commission to access the tender opening procedure and to open the provided tenders in the system. So about the timing of opening, as also mentioned by the colleagues, in Lithuania, we do not have any big time difference between the proposal provision and tender opening. Usually it is like indicated like 10-15 minutes. It can be up to 1 hour, but usually not more actually. It's a short time. The proposal is provided and after several minutes it's opened. Of course there can be some specific situations when this opening cannot be organized due to technical reasons, let's say some technical problems in the system. But I have to say that now at the last several years, these technical problems in the system are not usual. They do not happen very often. So this situation is really not so usual, and usually we open all the tenders at the planned time, and we can do it according to the plan. One more thing, which also is a bit different from, let's say, Latvian system. In Lithuanian procurement system, we have a possibility to provide like 2 separate envelopes for one procurement in case the economically most advantageous tender evaluation criteria is applied. So here the situation is that system even does not give a possibility for contracting authority to open the price envelope before the technical proposal is not checked and evaluated. So in the Latvian system, it's a bit different. We have everything like in one stage. Here, we have a bit different situation, and the main suggestion here for the companies, what you have to have in mind, that if there is a requirement to provide the proposal into envelopes, please mind and do not add the information on the price in the first part of the proposal, because this will not benefit to yourself, as contracting authority will get this information in advance before all the others. Yes, this part on provision of proposal in the regulations have to be needed carefully to be sure that everything is prepared according to requirements. Usually, of course, the contracting authorities, they use the prepared forms for the proposals, so it makes life easier, but just while providing, please mind how you provide it. Is both of the files closed in the system and provided separately, but not in one package. After opening the provided proposal, Commission starts the evaluation of a provided proposals or applications, and here the Commission has a right to ask questions and request for clarifications if there is such a need. And again, I have to mention that all this communication will happen in the electronic procurement system. There is no other possibility to communicate using other means like, I don't know, email or phone calls or something else. The only mean which you can use for communication at the tendering stage, it's electronic procurement system. So through this system, you will receive the question. Through the system, you have provide the answer. Through the system, you have to provide the documents requested, and no other possibilities to get in touch with contracting authority. For finalizing, I will just mention the most common questions from suppliers, actually, which they ask before registering and before taking decision. Should we register in the systems, or should they be there? So is my provided proposal safe in electronic system and cannot be opened before attendance submission date? So be absolutely aware that there is no any technical possibility to open the provided proposal before tender provision date and tender opening date indicated. There is no absolutely technical possibility to do that. So for sure your proposal is absolutely safe and will not be seen in advance before the indicated date. Then all the other tenders will also be opened. So next question, which also usually is asked about the system, and the decisions taken by the contracting authorities is can supplier provide the appeal to public procurement office in Lithuania. There is a rather common practice in many countries that these institutions which are like supervising the electronic procurement processes and everything in the countries, they usually revise the appeals. We have such a situation in Latvia, let's say, also where the applicant, where the tenderer can appeal the decisions of a contracting authority to the institution, which is not a court, but before the court. So I have to explain here that in Lithuania we do not have such a possibilities. We have a public procurement office, but it is not a function of this office to examine the claims submitted by the tenderers, and we do not do that. And the dispute resolution body in Lithuania in public procurements is first its contracting authority. It is requested to provide the claim to the contracting authority firstly. And then, if the answer of the contracting authority is not acceptable to tenderer, and if the tenderer does not agree to it, so it can the tenderer can go to the court. The next institution for appeal, it's a court. And that's that's a bit difference from our countries. One more thing also which interests the suppliers is about the finances, is registering in tendering system free of charge. So here I can mention that yes, in all 3 Baltic countries, the registration in e-tendering systems is absolutely free of charge. So it does not cost you anything. If even you will not participate and provide the proposal, you can easily go to the systems and register and check how they work and to see, and then only later after registration decide, do you want to participate in any procurement or not. It's absolutely free. And the last question, also rather usually met, is by whom electronic tendering systems are owned or managed in the Baltic countries. So in the world there are different situations because some countries have chosen to give the management of this system to private companies. In our case, all 3 Baltic states have the systems for e-tendering which are owned by the state, not by private companies, but it's a state-owned institutions. So actually they should be really safe from the side of let's say, of the market. It's institution, it's a state institution supervised systems. Yeah, so that's all of me. I think we are approaching to the end of our event. And actually, the last slide, what we made, I will not maybe comment very detailed on that, but we made it as a summary on all 3 electronic procurement systems in Baltics. And here you will find the table which includes the main information about the registration, about everything what is connected in participation to these systems, all the links to the systems, to instructions, and the differences in the countries. So I think that this information would be helpful in the future. So I think this will be available after the event, so you can save it for the future and use if needed. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Asta, for the explanation on Lithuanian systems. And yes, please join all the members. I will also be joining as we received few of questions, but as we are a bit running over the time, we'll keep it short and hopefully sweet. Some few questions on specific systems. I will straight jump into it. It's more a question for all of you. One of the viewers is asking how long it takes to register in each of the systems. Can you please clarify approximately the time span?
So for Latvian e-tendering system, it can be up to 1 week, but most probably this will be 3 working days.
Margo?
For the Estonian system, as Estonian citizens and companies can register basically automatically, so we are extending that courtesy also to others. Basically, it's a self-declaration system, so when you have confirmed your email address, you're good to go.
Great. And Asta?
Yeah, and in Lithuania, as I mentioned also in my presentation, that actually it takes up to 3 days, not longer. Usually, except maybe only the situations if some information was provided with the mistakes or some information which is requested was not added. So yeah, it can be a process of clarification, but usually it takes like 1 to 3 days.
Great. So now our viewers are informed that not so long process, but still please reserve some time. Then the next question follow through. I will maybe direct it to you, Elina. Can you maybe explain which systems would be used for what procurement exercise, taking into account that we have multiple members in the Rail Baltica family? Can you maybe a bit explain which implementing body uses which and what does joint venture do?
I understand the question is still about the system.
Yes, of course,
where the procurement will be launched. So for all Latvian procurements, so EDL, RB Rail, it will be electronic procurement system, which is owned and governed and operated by the state regional development agencies. So this will be the same system. All of the procurements will be launched there. So it is really significant that suppliers acknowledge this soon registration, because we have had actually several situations where the supplier leaves this registration to the last day and then something happens or time is not enough, and unfortunately we cannot do at that point nothing to help. You want to comment?
Yes, and then colleagues Margo in Estonia.
Yes, and the Estonian procurements are, as can be seen from the comparison table, are launched in the Estonian system. The implementing body is Rail Baltica Estonia, and also the Estonian Transport Administration is doing some tenders.
And in Lithuania, also, as I mentioned, the main procurements are organized by AB Lietuvos geležinkeliai, which are organizing all actually Rail Baltica related procurements in Lithuania, for which they are responsible. And the system, it's again, we have the only one electronic system, so yeah, it will be used. CVPIS in Lithuania, as I indicated. All the links can be found in my presentation. So,
fairly noted. Also, there was a question regarding, I think even Margo, you mentioned in Europe, but also reflecting to all of the systems. So viewers asked, can they use the system if they don't have electronic signature? Can you maybe also then each on the systems explain?
Yeah, sure. So for the Latvian electronic procurement system, you may not also have this electronic signature. So system itself provides the possibility to sign by system signature.
Yes, and for Estonian system is also not mandatory, so you can use it based on a username and password basis.
In Lithuania, it depends on the requirements implemented for the procurement. If the contracting authority decides to request the documents to be signed by electronic signature, then yes, it will be needed. But usually it is not done, especially for procurements in which it is expected the international tenderers participation, because it's too complicated. The electronic signatures, they are not unified in the Europe and in the world especially. So usually it is enough to use the system signature.
But maybe I will like to jump in and add to this. Please also check the regulations, because one thing is system, the signature, but the other thing, for example, if you have signatory documents or power of attorney, you have to need to have the signature. Yeah.
But it's talking about internal documents of the organization which they provide, because you cannot provide the document which is not signed actually. So usually, of course, it can be a copy, a hard copy with a physical signature. After that, Procurement Commission can ask for already approved document, but easier, of course, it's electronic signature and electronic documents to be provided.
Noted. Thank you for those answers. And one more question. I do believe all of you stated that these systems are state-owned systems, but there was still a question. Can you explain a bit and share, is there any helpline for the systems and where the potential suppliers can reach out? Well, starting from you, Asta.
Yeah, there is actually, yes, in Lithuanian Public Procurement Office website, which is available also in English language. You can find all the contacts for Lithuanian Public Procurement Office, where you can call and ask for their help, for instructions, for technical help to do something in the system if it is not clear. And as I mentioned, actually, what I really like very much, very, very detailed step-by-step instructions are prepared actually for the newcomers, for the registration in the system, and for providing proposal in the system and all the things. So I think in most cases these instructions could help, but if not, of course, there is a phone. If there are emails where you can write or call and ask for the help from Public Procurement Office, which is the owner and supervisor of the system.
Noted Lithuania. Continuing Estonia.
The Estonian Ministry of Finance has also organized a helpline regarding the technical matters. It's operating during the usual business hours, and for any other questions, there are always the email possibilities. And of course, the very detailed guidelines.
Continuing last but not least, Latvia.
And for Latvian case, there's also, of course, consultants actually for each of the lines. If you have questions to registration or submission of the bid, there will be separate persons to whom you can call or write an email. And this the same state regional development agency, to which links you can see directly in my presentation.
Awesome. Okay, this will be the last question. Sorry, I just got the eye on this one. Also, viewers are asking, do you need to register in the system if you will be only the subcontracting party? And if it's different in each country for this?
I can comment for Latvia. No need to register if you're a subcontractor or if you are a person on whose capabilities the tender relies, because all the submission process is done by this one delegated person who is then submitting the bid and preparing. No need, yeah.
I hope I'm not lying, but it's similar in Estonia.
Yeah, I'm not lying for sure, but it's the same in Lithuania. Yeah, really, you do not have to register in the system if you are just a subcontractor or a person on whom the company applying relies, because this one who is providing the proposal or application, this only company have to register. Others, they are just mentioned in the proposal, and that's it. You do not have to be a part of the system.
And to add, just in case you are applying as a partnership, there is also no need to register for each of the members. You can just delegate one member.
Yeah.
So the meaning then the main party will be the one that is responsible to inform the etc. partners on the outcome.
Yes, exactly, as per the agreement and how this agreement is concluded.
Awesome. Thank you. That was the question. That was all questions. So thank you for the presentations. Thank you for answering the questions. And that will be it for this segment. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, dear viewers, the final step of this event. Sorry, yes, we're a bit running over the time, but still, hopefully you are finding this event hopefully informative. Currently, you can see one of 4 maps on the screen. Most probably, a lot of you have seen it. We just wanted to put some more emphasis on this map as to explain that with this map, you can see this is truly not only a European project. This is also a European project. As you can see, with years worth of work, how many international suppliers we have tied into the Rail Baltica family that have won our procurements. In the numbers, it's nearly 50 international partnerships that we have that have been established in this time period, and that have, let's call it, lend in their hand to help and to make this Rail Baltica project alive. As well, hopefully within few years, this map will also be more populated with more international, of course, local partners. And then moving on with the next segment that I would like to inform you all. Some of you already maybe have seen me with usually being the one person in the international events. And this is just to put out information where you can meet us face to face in all the international events, as we, of course, love also on our online events, but these will be the ones where we are in person, most probably with the stand. Starting in May, we will be in Transport Logistic Exhibition, München, Germany, but this one we will be just as a delegation, but still possible to meet us. And then moving on, the second part of the year will be the busiest. We will, of course, be taking part in end of September in Krakow in the exhibition in Poland. Following by that in October, you can find us in Elmia Nordic Rail exhibition that will be happening in Jönköping, Sweden. Of course, one home event, we will be taking part also in October in 5G Territory Conference that happens in Riga, and ending the year a bit more sunshine, taking part in the end of November Rail Live conference in Madrid, Spain. And also, I do believe, long-awaited announcement. This year, we are also again reliving our own event. So please mark down the dates, 27 till 28 of September in Tallinn, Rail Baltica Global Forum 2023. All are awaited. And of course, soon, all the information will follow through, as save the dates and agenda for this event. That's more on the international events. And just to wrap up, the things I want to mention from my side to you, please be aware that all the recording will be possible to be found in our homepage and, of course, in YouTube. All the presentation materials will be shared for them who subscribe to the previous form. Of course, maybe we missed some questions, but still, nevertheless, the questions will be gathered and also answered on our homepage. And just to say, I would like to thank, on behalf of Rail Baltica family, all of our existing suppliers, partners, of course, our viewers, and of course, presenters that took part in today's webinar. Hopefully, all of you found this information valuable and enlightening. And just to say, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again, and see you in the next event. Thank you.